Edmonton, Alberta, a tough northern city in a Canadian province that is conservative to the core. An unlikely setting for reform in the way we police our cities. Even more unlikely, that reform was led by a 32-year veteran of the Edmonton Police. Chris Brayton decided years ago that policing in North America had lost its way.
Phases of my police career. It started back in the early 70s. I'd been on the police now about 8 or 9 years. And a lot of things had gone through my mind. I was watching conventional policing and the way we were doing conventional policing, but I began to take a very keen interest in the police, why we have it, and what its role is supposed to be, and how does it fit in with other things. And the more I learned about it, the more I learned about its history, and more I learned about the role that it's supposed to be playing, the less sense convention began to make to me. You see what I mean? And then I took a very keen interest in law at the time, back in 1971, when I was first promoted to sergeant, and I realized how little I knew about the big picture, because I'd lived in a small little, almost what we would call it, a police intellectual cocoon. Mind you, I felt everybody else around me was living in that same little world as well. And so I began to go up to the University of Alberta and sit in on audit law classes. And I began to see the big picture going back in history and what the office of constable meant and what consent policing meant, literally, which is the proper term for policing, when it was first created in London in 1829, that the people of London consented to have some of their own policed them.
Not all Londoners consented. Some rioted when Parliament debated giving the city the world's first modern, organized police force. But a handful of men persisted, among them Patrick Colquhoun, the famed philosopher Jeremy Bentham, and Home Secretary Sir Robert Peel. They pushed through an act creating the Metropolitan Police, headquartered in Great Scotland Yard near Whitehall. Robert Peel's 3,400 bobbies, armed only with truncheons, headed into the streets. Their purpose was to prevent crime. They were told to be polite and courteous, to win the trust and respect of the citizenry. London's bobbies used to rely on respect, not fear, but the old consent relationship between police and citizen is breaking down. Some patrolmen in high-crime areas now wear guns. The rest carry longer nightsticks. Police constables like John Stammers are trying to halt the slide into the violent ways of North America.
We basically get in there to know the public. We don't want them to look at us as a uniform. We basically go around and get to know everyone who lives or works on our particular beat, and we deal with their problems on a day-to-day basis. You become the type of big brother to them. And it's easier for them to talk to you because they know it's not going any further. So a lot of them do confide in you. They do ask you about personal problems. They do ask you about medical problems and such like. You know, if they've got problems with the family, relationships or something like that. Quite often you get called around to speak to them and you do your best.
Yeah, you watch out for those traffic wardens, though, yeah?
The amount of people you get to talk to you proves that it must be working. I mean, if I was to walk out the street now and no one said a thing to me, then I could tell there's something seriously wrong. But as it is, each day I walk round, learn the beat better.
Seething lane?
Seething lane, yes. See the one straight across?
Yeah.
New Orleans, Louisiana. A few years ago, this neighborhood was an armed camp with one of the highest murder rates in North America. School children were taught to hit the floor when bullets started flying. Things have changed. Something new called community policing is in effect. Or is it really new? Lieutenant Ed Compass sounds very like John Stammers.
If you look like the side of a police car, it says to protect and serve, and that's to protect and serve the public. The public empowers the police to do their job. We have awesome powers and awesome responsibilities, and it is incumbent upon every police officer to take these responsibilities and powers very seriously. And the reason we have this is to serve the public better and to make the community better as a whole. If we were trying to be public masters, we wouldn't get the cooperation from the community. We wouldn't get the cooperation from the people that we need to help make the community better.
Before Compass and his team moved in, drug dealers owned the neighborhood. Gangs met and fought in abandoned buildings, and every wall is pockmarked with bullet scars. It is still ugly, and there are still problems, but the homicides in this and other targeted areas have been cut in half.
The sad thing is, policing in North America has taken on a warlike image, and it's taken on a warlike structure. And if I take on a warlike approach to anything, I've got to have an enemy, because I can't think war without an enemy. And with enemy, I have to think destroy.
This is a Heckler & Koch MP5 submachine gun. And I don't know if you've seen any of the movies, the same gun that everybody uses across the world, basically. It's a 9mm round that we fire out of there, hollow point. 30 rounds in the magazine. You can have it on single shot, double shot, or fully automatic. So you can empty the whole mag within about a second and a half, I think it is.
The fundamentals of policing have hardly moved between the 60s and the 90s, but the package has changed. The package is much fancier. There's more stuff, but I don't think we're any wiser.
Chris Braden believes that California, the spawning ground for fads and fashions and TV cop shows, has exported its Rambo police cultures to cities where it is simply inappropriate.
We began to clone too much of the American model, and more specifically the California model. Now, whether the California model fits the personality of California or not is a question for the people in California and the California police to decide. Because for me, the essence of community policing is that the policing in a particular society or community should reflect that society. That's why I personally think it's a very wrong that there is a generic type of policing pretty well across North America, and North America is not generic.
We get most of our knowledge and our training from like LAPD guys come up here to train us once every couple of years, and they're kind of on the cutting edge of tactics. They're tactical every time. They're what we call going tactical. Just about every day they're doing something like that.
Going tactical, the jargon of the military. A far cry from consent policing. And all too often, going tactical becomes standard practice. Guns are drawn, and people get shot. The gulf between police and citizenry widens. Police in get-up like this are clearly not out to win public trust and confidence. In some U.S. cities, police send out squads of cavalry to patrol the streets, seeking strength in numbers.
You see, coppers are going to spend a lot of their time with poor people. Even distasteful places where you may not want to be. If you're not comfortable in that surroundings, I don't know how you can be any good at the work. One of two things is going to happen. You're going to steer clear of it and enter that arena reluctantly, or you'll only enter it when you get 5 or 6 buddies as a backup. And now there's an audience, you have to make a reputation. You can't be seen to be soft, because there's other guys who bring the story back. This is why I find, if you watch the things on television, you never see one copper doing anything anymore. It's 3, 4, 5, or 6.
You're panhandling, so it's against the law to panhandle in the city of New Orleans. You know him?
I don't know him so well, man. We just met him.
Just met him? You told me.
Any ID on you? Yeah, I got my driver's license. Where's it at? Which part?
When I look around me in policing, I see a tremendous amount of efficiency, but not a lot of effectiveness. We're doing things quite efficiently, but are we doing the right things? The best example I can think of is photo radar. It is exceptionally efficient in terms of just the sheer numbers and stuff. But is it the right thing? Well, that's a question that has to be asked in a bigger context, because we need the public's help in dealing with crime and disorder and keeping the peace. And if they see us as being too high-handed and heavy-handed and almost running herd on them, I'm not sure that's conducive with getting people to come together. Almost every encounter between a copper and a citizen, especially in your larger cities, is stranger on stranger. I never saw you before, I never see you again. Now that's a recipe for failure in any business. The main reason we went to community stations in Edmonton is that we were looking at nearly 600,000 telephone calls coming into the police in the course of the year, and dispatching about 35%, which means 65% of those people who called, all they talked to was a faceless voice on a phone.
You'll get his name because he'll be doing the investigations.
Police service. Okay. What kind of threats did he make?
Do they know where they live? Like, do they close to your place at all or not?
We needed to wean people off the telephone and come to us, so we would now get back to the face-to-face. Literally, it was time for Muhammad to come to the mountain.
Community policing is not simple. Officers find preventing crime is more complex than reacting to it.
We've really directed ourselves towards more of a problem-solving attitude to everything. Basically, everything is or should be looked at as how can we make it so that we don't ever have to come back here again? How can we reduce calls for service? Is there something that we can map out, some strategy that we can afford these people, whoever they are, whether they've called us for a parking problem, whether they've called us for a neighbor dispute, whatever. How can we change it so that we're not coming back 10, 20, 30 times in a year? I think that it's really been a change to a more integrated with society kind of policy. You know, you don't want that stigma that the police used to have of being untouchable. You want to see them as very approachable, and that's definitely a good thing.
Where you guys been? Sorry?
Friend's house.
You ever been in trouble with the police before? You look familiar.
Let's talk
What's
about
your
crime
name?
and the causes of crime, where it comes from, and why does it seem like there's so much crime in North America and all that sort of stuff. There's a bunch of things come together. First and foremost, we're very affluent. Secondly, we're a very kept society, which means we're a very selfish society.
What's all this stuff?
A lot of it comes from wanna. I wanna. The more affluent and well-kept that a society becomes, the more the moral fiber breaks down. And that's what's feeding a lot of this.
I don't know all the causes for crime, but I do know that policing has got a role to play in controlling crime. And we've had a lot of success because of our approach to policing in this community for a few years. And yes, crime rates have dropped by 40%.
Cities are discovering that a carefully planned and well-executed program of community policing cuts crime. This is the West Edmonton Mall, an enormous entertainment complex and shopping center. Community policing means officers pound a beat inside the mall instead of riding around in patrol cars outside.
Our primary responsibility is the West Edmonton Mall.
The mall itself lays on an area of 24 square blocks, but it has an upper level, and the parking lot also has 2 levels. Therefore, we could consider that we are patrolling or walking the beat on 48 square blocks. It's kind of unique in the sense that the mall is not a regular mall, a very big tourist attraction, has a hotel, therefore we have lots of traffic. And we're trying to deal with all the ongoing problems, trying to reduce them or eliminate them.
Almost always the reaction is positive, and there's been lots of studies done in it, by the way. Not only are the coppers enjoying the work more, because they now feel a bit of ownership, all right? I mean, we all need an identity. I mean, this has been proven, and to belong and what have you. But in fact, it also has quite an impact on the public's, especially the elderly's perception of fear of crime.
We have lots and lots of eyes here. If we have a repeat offender or an individual that would be a concern to the mall, we would just make up a bulletin and just distribute that to the merchants. And if they see them, they will, hey, the police are looking for this person, and they'll phone us.
Excuse me, ma'am. How are you? Good.
You need their help to arrest the right ones, because they will know stuff. Let's take a housing project. Let's take an apartment block, a school, a pub, you name it. Who will know it? Let's take a donut shop. Who will know most about what goes on in that donut shop or school on a regular basis? The people who work in it, or the copper who drives around it but never goes into it?
There's some concerns in the store, and the store staff's observing you possibly removing some tags from some clothing and putting that clothing on and concealing it. Have anything to say about that?
I wasn't trying to steal, I know that.
Positive? How about we just come over here and talk? What's your name? Robbery. We provide them the best service we can. And if we can't do it, we will go that extra mile to refer them to whoever can deal with their problem.
People have often come up to Edmonton and say, oh, yeah, I see you've got neighbourhood foot patrol, you've got community policing. My answer to that is this: we might and we might not. It depends on why we have foot patrol and what it does, not the fact that we have it. If you walk the beat or put a couple of coppers out on the beat, they gain brownie points with the community and they'll think that they'll like you better, you've got nothing. You're sucking up. And you're becoming an abject, you're trying to curry favor as opposed to do what's right. Picture parents trying to run a family that way, sucking up to their kids and doing anything just to get their kids to like them. You got a dysfunctional family. And when that happens with policing and its community, you got a dysfunctional police organization. People might think at times that I'm criticizing policing because of the things I talk about, and let me clarify that. I mean, I was in policing for 32 years. Everything that I and my family have today, I owe it to policing. I came over to Canada as a young lad in 1959, and I had 11 bucks in my pocket. Today we have a nice home, good family, friends, and everything else. And I remember very clearly that for 32 years, every nickel I ever got came out of the pockets of somebody else, all right? So I love policing. I love it for what it can be, not necessarily for what it is. And my mother used to often say to me in Ireland when I was a young lad, she'd say, you know, son, sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. And you do. Sometimes to talk about something you love, you have to talk about the deficiencies of it. Now, when I come back and look into my community, and for me it's been the city of Edmonton for many, many years, I see parts of the whole at war with each other. And for me, the central role of policing is to pull those parts together as much as possible.
Pulling the parts of a divided community together is never an easy task. But Edmonton police officers are listening to the people on their beat, trying to deal with the issues they raise, trying to solve community problems. So Robert Peel would approve.
Do you know this young lady that's in your vehicle?
No, well, I saw it once and she asked me for a ride.
Okay, where did she ask you for a ride to?
Down here, I'm going just pick her up down there.
Yeah, oh, we saw her get in your car there. She's one of the working girls in the neighborhood, so that's where we're trying to get her out of the neighborhood here.
Yeah.
Neighbors here don't appreciate them in the area, so we're trying to discourage them.
All right.
All right, you're free to go, sir. Definitely get to know what's going on in the community when you talk to the people who actually live in the community. And when people get to know you, they'll tell you more.
You know, there was some here, there was some here, there was some here.
Yeah.
And when we discovered that they were missing, like the hangers were pulled, knocked to the floor, and there was, you know.
So it wasn't like 5 in a group? They took one from each
No, I mean,
spot?
they went all the way down.
Okay.
And we had a member come in late at 8:15.
Okay.
So we
With the Norwood area, we have our own cell phone, and that's bought by the Norwood Neighborhood Association for the Norwood members, the 3 members who work the Norwood area. So who's ever on duty carries the phone, and we can be reached when we're working. There's no delay. They're not phoning our communications. They were phoning directly to us.
heard somebody at the door, but
when they
got up, we checked, but there's nobody.
Police officers like Aaron Nickel frequently visit schools on his beat, just showing the flag.
I make a point of going to the school on a regular basis so the kids can see me. I talk to the principal, see if they're having any concerns or issues that I should be involved in. And it's very important to have the connection with the students in a positive relationship versus coming to the school when I have a complaint to arrest somebody or charge somebody. So I make a point of being there, and I just hang around, and they collect on me. It builds up the confidence in kids when they have to deal with the police. Children need their self-esteem addressed. They need their self-perception addressed. It's so simple to deal with children because all you have to do is acknowledge they exist, compliment them, listen and look at them when they're speaking to you, and give them that attention that they want.
Some denigrate this approach to policing as fit only for social workers, not police officers, and that upsets Chris Braden.
Everybody who performs any work on behalf of society and gets paid by society to do that work is a social worker. So a firefighter is a social worker. The mayor is a social worker. The guys in SWAT team are social workers. Based on what that term means. I know what it means in the police culture, but you'd better, if you're talking about soft, wimpy, gutless policing, then you'd better use some other term to describe it, because social worker is what you were sworn to be in the first place, a social worker.
I say to Aaron, I need funding for something, you know, I wish I could get a sponsor for a scholarship for my sports kids, and Aaron has the contacts. Aaron comes up with them, the names, and he does a lot of that work for me because he knows a lot of the people out in the community, and he makes the initial contact.
I think the most important thing we have to be is an individual and be flexible enough to think of new ideas and be open enough to include other people from the community to help join us.
Sir Robert Peel told the first recruitment of Bobbies that if they treated the public with respect, they would find help when they needed it. Aaron Nickel can testify to the truth of that, and he has shown his community that everyone, not just the police, has an obligation to help maintain safe neighborhoods.
We'd been written off, I think, quite a while ago. It's only northeast Edmonton, that's where all the bums live, that's where, you know, we'd been written off. Aaron came in and he wasn't gonna let that happen. He got us involved.
Okay, you guys gonna wave to us tonight before you go to bed?
Every person within a community is a leader. And any program that I work on is designed to let people take responsibility to make it successful.
In the spring, we had a lot of young gangs around, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. We got them out. We got them out of here. and they haven't been back. But that's why we're trying to get this throughout the city. We're trying to set up little branches here, there, everywhere. We want cells everywhere throughout the whole city. It doesn't help if we're chasing them across the street. But then hopefully it goes across the street. Across the street, we'll set up a little program too, right throughout the city.
I view myself more now as a community builder, and it puts me on an equal standpoint with my community. And that's a great thing to have happen. In policing, again, traditionally, we usually work independent of our community, and this allows me to work with my community. And that's the future, working together for a common purpose.